right. Hey, people. Uh, Welcome back to my stream. Not gonna lie, I'm a little drunk. It's what all you need to finish this route. But I'm so damn excited for this, man. We're gonna get going. All right, let's go read. Wheezing my lungs out, I ascended the deserted stairway to the top floor. I made my way through the unattended lobby into the planetarium before I took a breather at the gargantuan device that had jumped into my sight. It was Noah 2 in all its majesty, surrounded by a chilly air robbing me of my warmth. A piece of art stood beside Noah 2. Remy, affixed to the art piece, slowly raised her head at my voice. Our eyes met. Her eyes shot open. Her eyes began to swim. She doesn't like this, man. You can tell she doesn't like this. She shook her head sadly. Because I've fallen in love with you. I'm in love with you, Remy. But I couldn't say that out loud. I couldn't say anything heroic like, I'm here to save you because I'm in love with you. Not with how I was. Not with me covered in blood and completely flattened arm. My current state was as far from Prince Charming as humanly possible. If I said something like that now, I'd probably look creepy as hell. Now put me closer to a stalker than anything, really. If I spilled my guts to her in some speech that I didn't let her get a word in, it would have just put her way off. She was going to live, and I was going to die. Having some dead man walking convey all his feelings on a whim would have left a horrible taste in her mouth. So I bottled it all in. Her right hand was still weak. It was the hand I've been using to hold my D sword. Desperately forcing my fingers to move, I reached inside my jacket pocket and I pulled out a handkerchief. It was colored a gentle vermilion. Whether that was its original hue or due to my blood staining it, I did not know. Remy had given it to me, though its floral aroma had long since expired. That handkerchief was one of the several precious memories she'd given me.
僕は君をここから助け出してノア2を壊してこのハンカチを返すんだ。
That was all I was capable of doing. And if I managed to achieve it all, I could die with no regrets. Besides, there wasn't much else I could do. In my mind, every sense of mine had gone numb a long time ago. I imagined that the reason for that was because the pain was so severe. My brain had no choice but to start blocking the sensations transmitted by whatever nerves were responsible. I could barely move. My arm continued to bleed, and my vision was blurry. I was incredibly cold. I had a feeling that, if I wasn't careful, I'd lose consciousness right then and there.
君は実に勇敢ですね。
Towering man emerged from behind Noah 2, Norase Genichi. Facing me, he clapped sarcastically, with no expression on his face.
しかし致命的なことが一つあります。行動原理が感情に根ざしているということです。それは野蛮人のすることだ。
I had no idea what he was getting at. It took everything I had just to bear with the pain. So as I found Remy, I didn't have any brain power left to try and comprehend what anyone else was saying.
逃げて。
小を犠牲にして大の利益を守る。それを悪だと思いますか？私はそうは思いません。このままでは人類はいずれ滅び去る。人の欲望によってです。あまりにも醜い心、あまりに利己的な欲望の洪水。人の社会はすでに破綻し、腐り落ちようとしています。誰もが己のことしか考えず、その結果殺し合い、奪い合っています。君もギガロマニアックスとして覚醒したのなら見たはずですよ。人の心の本質を。私は幼い頃に覚醒したため、もう何十年という間、それを見、300人委員会は人類の自滅を阻止するためという大義名分のもと、世界人間牧場計画を推し進めてきました。けれどそれも所詮、彼らのエゴを満たすものでしかない。私が目指すのはそんなものではありません。悟ったのですよ。この腐った世界を再生するためには、社会のシステムを変えるのではなく、世界中すべての人間の心を変える必要があるのだと。そのためのプロジェクトノアです。ノア2があれば世界中すべての人間から負の妄想を消し去り、清廉な心へと漂白できます。争いは消え、世界に永遠の平和を与えることができます。君も誰かに蔑まれることもなくなるでしょう。
Finally, his normal light monologue came to a close. My body was on the verge of collapse, but I was desperately planting my feet. At least I got in a bit of a break. That was the only reason I was still standing.
あんたの言ってることはもしかしたら正しいかもしれない。
I love this shit. They always pretext with like, what you said is right, but I hadn't really been paying much attention. But in regards to the future of humanity, he was definitely right. His ideals were entirely righteous. He was the president of a sprawling corporation, and his eyes were aimed solely on the justice for the whole of mankind. Me, meanwhile, I was a monster, a virgin, an otaku freak, a selfish, ego-driven wannabe who just wanted to save some girl he liked and didn't give a shit about anyone else. Normally, that'll make me the bad guy, true and true. The monster would then be slain, and justice would be prevailed.
でも僕はあんたには負けられない。
Base.
なぜ否定するのです？
ただの自己満足だ。
残念です。
His gaze locked on me. Norase grabbed Remy by the collar and threw her off the art piece. His right hand then stretched out in front of it. And in that ephemeral moment, the one standing art piece found itself in Norase's hand. It was no mere art piece, nor it was a cross that existed for crucifixion. It was a Di Sordo. It was far more monstrous to be called a sword. Savagery, jealousy, that was which showed terror. A contaminated gospel. Chaos, scorely complexified. Is that even a word? What the fuck? A blasphemy with which to desecrate. The purest of evils, akin to the very gates of hell themselves. The heart of those who gaze upon it would retch away, luring them into eternal eons of strife. All that was related in this world converged into one, embodying its very shape. What the hell is this in the center? I gulped back all the saliva that had been built up in my throat. Despite everything, I made up my mind. I fixed my grip on my Di Sordo, which was still bound to my hand with a cord, and then I took a single step toward Noa 2. Or more accurately speaking, I began to close the distance between Norase and myself. Speaking of distance, he had an overwhelming advantage in range over me.
剣で切り合うような野蛮な行為はあまり得意ではないのです。しかし、君からコードサンプルを手に入れる必要があります。そのために無力化しなければ。
Towering over me with one hand, Norase swung a Di Sordo even bigger than he was. His strike was so heavy, it felt as if it could have pulverized any known object out of there. My arm was slow to respond. Even moving it slightly made pain explode throughout it. Even still, I forced it to do so and raised my arm. I caught the blow with my Di Sordo. Any normal sword would have split right into two. And that wasn't even accounting for how unbelievably thin my sword was. It couldn't have been more different than Norase's. And yet, my Di Sordo didn't break. Somehow I managed to parry Norase's first strike. My hand went numb, with my left hand pulverized. My balance on the side was non-existent. The stance I'd been holding collapsed. By the looks of it, he was about to send me flying. I just had to endure it. I connected with Norase's second blow. His recovery between strikes was way too fast. Don't be misled by how his sword looks. That was what I told myself. It was a battle of strength between a sword that was far too thin and delicate, and a sword that was far too colossal and ferocious. Somehow, I was holding out with it, at least for the moment. Four times now. 4 times had our blades crossed, but this time the position of Norase's hand began to change. It looked like he was clutching the guard of the sword now, and then his sword began to riddle, letting out an eerie noise. Its malleable mechanisms groaned. The blades edged and split into two, opening into a pair of scissors. That was the thrust toward my very chest. The alteration. Right then, I came to realize it would mean the enemy. I countered, swinging my sword down in front of me, but I was too late. It forked point sang straight into my chest. A colorless smile formed in Norris's lips. He loosened his grasp on the guard, and then the colossal sword scissors snapped shut. My chest, my ribs, and my lungs were all devoured. I desperately stumbled back. Right when I did that, Norris swept his arm straight across. My own fresh blood danced before my eyes. Pain spiked throughout my entire body. Even though my senses were supposed to have been numbed, I was on the verge of screaming out with whatever remained of my lungs. But even so, I clenched my teeth and endured it. My chest had been thoroughly minced. If not for stepping back when I did, he would have hit my heart. Massive quantities of blood continued to spray out. I nearly toppled over, but I caught myself at the very last second. I can't die here. I didn't come this far just to die. I ignored Norris. Instead of him, I approached Noatu and Remy, and the latter which was collapsed on the ground. It took every fiber of my being, but I did it all the same. Raising her head from the ground, Remy looked into my direction. She was likely exhausted. There was no way her body had any strength left. As fatigue, or maybe just my injuries, continued to wear me down, my vision grew blurry. I wasn't sure what sort of fate Remy was making as she looked at me. I didn't meet her gaze. I couldn't bear for her to see me like this, bloody and beaten to a pulp. That was the minuscule bit of pride I had left. Even on my deathbed, that was where I drew the line. I advanced toward Noatu. Di Sordo was already within range. Oddly enough, Nerose stayed behind me, ignoring that I was leaving him behind. All of a sudden, a cheery melody began to ring through the dome. You may pass. Noatu towered over me. The sound emanating from it became even more shrill, deep within all its majesty. I sensed something incredibly strange and enigmatic moving around. For a split second, I flinched. But slowly, I managed to take a stance with my blade at my hip. I aimed toward Noatu's nearly organic-looking tube-covering exterior and bulldozed it with my Di Sordo. That was when I noticed. At some point or another, Noatu had vanished from my sight, and now somehow I was standing with my back to it. I knew for a fact I'd been trying to destroy it. There wasn't a single damn reason for me to have turned around, and yet that was the direction I was facing. In the very center of my blurred vision, Norris was the one standing there, not Noatu. I turned myself around, swinging my Di Sordo at it for the second time. Except even though I fully intended to turn around, I hadn't. I had the will to turn myself around, and I even made the motion to do so, and yet the end result was the one where I hadn't actually turned around. I was hit with a wave of utter confusion.
ノア2の自己防衛機能とでも言うべきものです。
Norris's quiet voice resounded from within the dome, pooling and mixing together with the melody of You May Pass.
近づく者の心に干渉し、意志を歪ませる。ノア2には誰も近寄れません。私以外に。
When he finished speaking, he leisurely walked closer to me. Then, as if it was the easiest thing in the world, he raised the colossal Di Sordo above his head. I clenched my teeth. I lost a lot of blood. I couldn't think clearly. Even though I didn't have the slightest bit of sensation in my right hand, I shoved the pain, and the fact that I couldn't move it properly aside, and lit it all up in the desperate attempt to deflect the next blow. And then the Di Sordo that had somehow still remained attached to my hand with the cord was sent flying with a staggering impact. It tumbled across the floor, far, far away from me. It was astonishing seeing it off. Fixing my gaze in front of me, I was met with Norris's sneering figure. And then, as if in a warning, as if to urge my mind forward, the melody changed.
君の存在を否定してあげましょう。
Norris's stance told me he was already prepared to strike again. He was about to bring that sword crashing down on me. It was all too overwhelming, all too devastating, all too brutal. That was the Disordo, and it was coming down on me. While I was completely unarmed, I had no way of stopping a strike. I was a sitting duck. Remy forced her way between me and Norase. Her soft touch enveloped my face.
殺さないで
I felt Remy's chest. She wrapped her arms around me, almost like a tender embrace. She was protecting me from Norase. Norase sighed quietly, lowering his sword. Remy had saved me once again, even though I told her I was here to save her. How pathetic was that? Hit was with a wave of intense frustration. I slithered my right hand onto her body and thrusted it inside her blouse.
タク
I felt the sensation of the coarse, warm underwear lying on top of her skin. Then I felt the pain of the gashes in my chest, and the pain of my amputated left hand, and the pain of my dislocated right arm. Then the pain of my dysfunctional lungs as I struggled to breathe. But the warmth I felt now, surely it could heal all of it. Remy's underwear, Remy's bare skin. I tore out the buttons of her blouse. Oh my god, what the hell's going on? I ripped away the clothing that was keeping her body hidden away from me. I exposed her bra. I grabbed her tightly, right through her bra, reaching her ample breasts. What the fuck is going on? With my blood-smeared right hand, I squeezed her. I rubbed her body with my blood, her bra, her bare skin. I felt its elasticity, such soft and tender skin. Remy writhed around in an attempt to escape. I grabbed her tightly and didn't let go. I plunged my face into her bra. What the fuck? Her skin was so velvety, so comfortable. It was all as if drawing me in. Then with my free right hand, I began to grope beneath her skirt. What the fuck, man? Alright, this is sobering me a little bit right now. With a gas, I got off her. When I realized what I've been trying to do, I was genuinely shocked. Bro, why did he become rape man? What the fuck? Get your shit together! I thought you loved this woman. What the fuck? Even though I got it off her, Remy tightly clutched her chest and continued to sob sadly. But she had been protecting me. Why had I done that? Why the hell had I done that? Especially at a time like this. Why was I the one making Remy cry?
本当は先当たりに犯したいんでしょ
My own voice echoed within my mind. Shock. I swallowed back my saliva. What was so shocking to me? The fact that he was right, because he'd seen through me, but who was he to begin with? It was my own voice, my inner voice, my true nature.
ここで物にしておかないと将軍に寝取られちゃう。
What the fuck? I think he's having a delusion attack right now, man.
あんなしわくちゃ野郎にリミはやられちゃうんだよ。寝取られるなんて嫌じゃん。
Don't want to be a cut, do you?
もうすでにやられちゃってる可能性もあるけどさ。
What the fuck? I think he really is having a delusion attack here. The true nature continued whispering to me. Stop it. Stop saying this shit. I don't believe a single word you're saying. I couldn't cover my ears even though I wanted to, considering my lack of a left hand. Rumi was just lying there, sobbing, unable to fix her messy clothes. Just seeing her face like that shattered my heart.
片思いでいいとか綺麗事言ってないでさ。犯しちゃえ。ノロセはそれをする時間ぐらい待ってくれるってよ。どうせ僕はもうすぐ死ぬんだ。恨まれたってへでもないって。やりたいことやって死のうよ。僕のこのかわいそうな境遇ならここでちょっとひどいことやったってしょうがなかったと許されるよ。
It was just a delusion. Something that was a bad habit of mine. Things could take a turn for the worse if I didn't stop listening. The current would drag me away. My weak-minded nature was luring me to the path of least resistance, toward a really bad path. But it couldn't let me drag me away. Not now.
それにリミは僕に同情してくれてた。それならむしろやらしてくれるべきだ。おかせ。死ぬ前に童貞捨てようよ。
What the fuck?
ダメだ。
Oh my god, man. That was a strong delusion attack, man. Holy shit! I scream to shatter my weak mind, to blow it out straight to hell. Luckily, it seemed to have worked. Rimi had even stopped crying. She lowered the hands covering her face, and then she glared at me with ice-cold eyes.
つまんない男。
Those few words were all it took for my mind to be swallowed by a cascade of dark emotion. And as I swing myself at Remy, with a staggering force, an enormous stake burst straight up from the concrete floor. The sharp edge of the stake pierced right into my crotch. Man, this ending, man. What the fuck? I couldn't comprehend what was going on. My legs were floating in the air. Even if I wanted to run, I couldn't. The stake gradually tore its way further and further into my body. It was excruciatingly painful, but not enough to kill me. The stake continued to grow, lifting me a whole meter into the air. Any form of movement sent a jolt of pain through my groin. I was completely unable to move. Someone, save me! I cast my bleeding eyes down toward Remy, but without even looking at me, she walked straight to Narusa's side. Then, as if exhausted of all strength, she crouched to the ground. but both Norase and Remy simply stared at me, at the mortifying display. Neither of them had any form of expression as they watched. Neither of them had any interest in saving me.
知っていますか？かつて拷問刑として串刺しは世界中のあちこちで用いられていました。この拷問の特徴は死ぬまで3日ほどかかるということです。自らの体重によって徐々にその杭は体に食い込んでいく。ポイントは杭の先端はそれほど尖らせないことです。それにより臓器を傷つけることがなくなり死ぬまでの期間が延びるわけです。最終的に杭の先端が口や肩から突き破れば処刑は終了。見守っていてあげますよ。3日間あなたが死ぬまでに。彼女も同じ考えのようですし。
Remy nodded in response to his words.
もっともその前に胸や腕の傷のせいで失血死に至る方が早いかもしれませんが。
It was a delusion, a delusional attack. That was what I told myself. In reality, I wasn't really impaled. I was still just standing in front of Noah too. I was only hallucinating. I believed that to be true. I had to believe. 3 days, 72 hours, 4,320 minutes, 2,509 and 200 seconds. If I can endure it for that long, that delusion will end. It had to be. If I just sleep for a bit or pass out, I'll go by a lot quicker. Those were my thoughts. But I couldn't do either of those things. The pain wouldn't let me. And that was exactly what made this such pure, unrelenting torture. I was gonna go insane if this went on. Even though only a moment ago I've been thinking about trying to endure it, I'd spiral straight into despair. Considering the extreme amount of time left before my death, despair was the sole emotion that hadn't drained directly out of me. Just kill me already. Bro, what the fuck is this ending, man? How much time had passed? I didn't see the clock, so I had no clue. I wanted to see a clock, but I knew that if I did see one, the hands sluggishly ticking by would probably shatter my spirit completely. I clenched my teeth. Sweat was oozing out of my body in droves. Thanks to that, my throat had gone dry. I moistened it by swallowing the blood that was trickling in. Inside my body, I could feel the snake continuously shoving into my internal organs as it wedged itself even deeper into me. I could feel it very clearly, like a countdown to my inevitable death. Soon enough, it arrived at my minced chest. After that, it pierced through my throat. It skewered me straight through the mouth. The pain and shock was pushing my sanity to its limits. The pain kept me in a 5-minute cycle of passing out, waking up, then passing back out again. I came to understand something. Every time I painted, my body would go limp, and the stake would dug into me even faster. Naturally, the gain grew to uncomparable levels when that happened. Then it would wake me back up. Unable to move, my body would writhe in torment. Then I'd pass out again to escape the pain, and the gruesome cycle would repeat itself. Even when I was conscious, I was completely in a daze. It seemed the pain had somehow faded a little too. My vision had gone dim. Was it nighttime? Not that it mattered, considering the lack of windows in the dome. I suppose it was probably because of how much blood I'd lost. Blood trickled from my chest and arms. I bet not a lot. whole lot. If it kept dripping out, maybe I could die peacefully from that instead of being impaled. And realizing that, I attempted to swing my left arm, hardly of any of which remained below the elbow. But it didn't even twitch. No doubt my nerves were already dead. Was it really a delusion? When was it going to end? Would it ever actually end? What had made me believe it was a delusion to begin with? How could I know it was a delusion? What if it was all reality? If I endured it, I'd just die anyway. Enduring it didn't mean shit. But I was enduring it anyway. That was stupid. Only a dumbass would do that. I was an idiot. Die. Not the kill yourself kind. No. Actually fucking die. I should die right now. I was sick of all the pain. I was sick of all the suffering. Bite your tongue off. Do that, and you'll be at peace soon after. Just let me out of here. That was all a delusion, right?
死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ痛い死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ死ぬ痛い死ぬ死ぬ
Bro, this ending, man, is so painful. My chest continued to hemorrhage. I couldn't breathe. No matter how much oxygen I tried to suck in, my throat would only make a stupid wheezing sound. I looked down only to be met with a stake peeking through the holes in my chest. Struggling for oxygen as my mouth flapped open and shut, I violently vomited out blood. The fact I was about to die brought me peace of mind.
そろそろですね。
It was Norris's voice. The bastard was right in front of me, but I couldn't see him. In fact, I couldn't see a thing. Being impaled had left me in so much agony for so long that I completely forgotten about him and Remy. I couldn't help but wonder if Remy is still close by, though it didn't really matter. I was still occupied with trying to breathe. For a good while now, I've been dedicating every nerve and every last ounce of strength toward just doing that.
君が無事死ぬ前に彼女を始末しておきましょう。
I wasn't exactly sure what he was talking about, nor did I have the chance to think about it.
私を殺すの
へえ、そういうことです。遺言をどうぞ。
ごめんタクタクのこと助けてあげられなかった
I heard Rumi's final scream, then the sound of someone toppling over. I imagined that Rumi had just been shot and killed. I didn't feel a single pang of emotion. Something else took priority. I returned to working on breathing, and then I felt a shock at how I'd done that. What was the meaning in any of this? Why did I struggle so hard to keep on breathing? Wasn't it just too much? Something hot streamed down my cheeks. I was probably crying, but there wasn't any way to be sure of that. I tried my best to endure everything that I had been dealt with so far, but so close to the 3-day limit, the meaning of doing so had been entirely lost. I'm sorry, Remy. I should be the one to apologize. I couldn't protect you. There wasn't any point in living anymore. I let my body go limp. The weight of that caused my body to sink even deeper. I felt the foreign object working its way up to my throat. Breathing became impossible. Something was diving itself through me. I came back to my senses. The feeling of a foreign object in my throat disappeared. I wasn't impaled anymore. The only blood on me was from my left arm and chest. When did reality end and the delusion begin? My brain couldn't begin to process it fast enough. I didn't understand a thing about the situation. In front of me was Norase, the sword raised.
帰ってきましたか。あなたが体験した3日間は現実では1秒しか経っていませんが。
やっぱり妄想。
After muttering that to myself in relief, Nora's D sword flashed as fast as lightning. My body stopped and both halves began to fall out of alignment. My vision fell. It sank downward, even though my legs were still standing right there. Everything above my waist stopped up to the ground. My torso had been falling off. The cross-section was all too beautiful to behold. I explicitly fixed my gaze on my lower half. It was a reality I didn't want to accept. Or was it just another delusion? If it was, that would be nice. Please be a delusion. Rin was calling me, in a voice that seemed so sad. She was calling me.
その状態でも死ぬまで数分は持つはずです。元医師である私が言うのだから確かですよ。その間にコードサンプルを取ることにしましょうか。
I crawled, dragging my body away from my right hand alone. I headed straight for Remy's voice. I want to feel you there, Remy. I have to save you. Remy. I dragged myself forward with my right hand. Then again. I reached out. But I had no idea where Remy was. I didn't reach her. I didn't reach anything at all.
しぶとい男だ。
Crunch. I felt my bones grind to dust. Notice's dress shoe trampled my outstretched right hand.
さすが化け物と言うべきですか。
そのノロセの足が蜃気楼のように揺れた。床のタイルの模様がぼんやりとし始めて、天地が回転する。床と天井が逆になる。僕は天井に這いつくばっている。両断された腰からものすごい勢いで血が噴き出す。全開にした蛇口のように血が体から抜けていく。そのまま腕の傷口を通って内臓までが流れ出る。意識がスーッと遠くなる。でも完全には途切れない。血だまりができて、僕はそのシンクの海に身を横たえている。ドクンドクンと鼓動する心臓が僕の目の前に転がっていて、血だまりに波紋を作り、その波紋をぼんやり見ていたら、僕の形が崩れた。人としての形を維持できない。僕と世界との境界が消失する。肉が溶け、骨がゴムのように曲がり、 眼球は四角になり、口から裏返った灰がこぼれ出し、神経は数万キロメートルも引っ張られ、脳はシワの一つ一つを丁寧に伸ばされ、体はブヨブヨになる。空気に溶けていく。右手が糸のように伸びて、プラネタリウムを出ていく。それは飴細工のように、渋谷の空をさまよって、コーネリアスタワーにくるくる巻きつく。何度も何度も何度も。別れた足が膨れてる。ブクブクと水風船みたい。パンパンに皮膚が伸びてギチギチ音を立ててる。
What the fuck is happening, man?
液状化。肉も骨もとろけてふくらはぎに溜まってる。腰からニョキって小さな頭が生えて、ぎょろりとした白い目が僕を見たよ。そしたら僕の頭がぐしゃって潰された。どっちの頭かはよくわかんない。潰れてトロトロになって、ビルの床、コンクリートの分子の隙間を抜けて落ちていく。地上へビューって。地面に作るどろりとした脳みその水たまり。もぞもぞもごもご、ジュルジュル、ドロドロ、プルプル、ビヨンビヨン、ビチャビチャ、ぐじゅぐじゅ、ぐちゃりぐちゃり。僕は二つになる。二つが四つになる。四つが八つになる。八つが四つに。二つが八つに。四つが四つに。どんどん増えて、どんどん減る。僕がいっぱい。僕がいない。僕は何？僕って何？何って僕？僕？何？何区がナボに、ナボ、ボに、なく、ボ、な。
君は妄想なんかじゃないよ。
れだ。
見てごらん。
西條七海が祈る。兄と共に収容された病院。怪我人があふれた待合室の片隅にうずくまり、実の兄のしわくちゃの手を握りしめて、右手の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて祈る。もう一人の兄の無事を。楠木優愛が祈る。倒壊したビルの瓦礫。そこに埋もれるように横たわるコンテナの中で、彼の美少女フィギュアの一つを握りしめて、地震と火事で醜く変形してしまったフィギュアたちの姿に感じた胸の痛みに耐え、目を閉じて 祈る。彼女を許してくれた少年の無事を。岸本綾瀬が祈る。避難所となっている水明学園。その校舎の屋上で空を見上げて、神話が書かれた文庫本を握りしめて、崩壊した渋谷を覆う不特定多数の妄想が見せる悪意の痛みに耐え、目を閉じて祈る。彼女の歌を、彼女の話を聞いてくれた少年の無事を。折原梢が祈る。新鮮駅の薄暗いホーム。青井瀬名の震える手を握りしめて、足の傷の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて祈る。心の声で語り合ったクラスメートの少年の無事を。青井瀬名が祈る。横たわる父の傍らに座り、父の冷たくなった手を握りしめて、最後まで素直になれなかった後悔の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて祈る。彼女のお願いに不器用ながら答えようとしてくれた少年の無事を。咲畑りみが祈る。冷たい床に横たわりながら彼へ伸ばした自らの手をきつく握りしめて、傷だらけの彼の姿を見て感じた。締め付けられるような胸の痛みに耐えて、目を閉じて祈る。自分が守ろうとした、自分を助けに来てくれた少年の無事を。
僕は何もできなかった。君が行動したんだ。その結果としてみんなが君のことを見てきた。君という周囲共通認識はとっくに出来上がっているんだ。これからは、いや、もうすでに君こそが。
僕は、君は誰？僕はその声が聞こえた瞬間に、意識が僕を固定した。ぐちゃぐちゃにかき回されていた世界が一気に収束する。混沌は僕の理想度を形作って収束する。僕は僕としての形に戻る。世界は世界としての形に戻る。僕は僕だ。
I can see clearly now. All my wounds have been healed. The top and bottom halves were connected. I was standing on my own 2 feet. The pain was entirely gone. Serenity filled my heart.
妄想によく打ち勝ったね。僕の最後の力を君に託すよ。
I noticed Remy at the edge of my vision. She was okay. She was looking at me. Tears were falling down her face. Don't cry. Summoning my strength, I grasped the D-sword's hilt. I ascertained speed. My arms worked better than ever. I had completely regenerated.
実に興味深いです。
I focused my eyes on Norase.
確かに僕は化け物です。でもこれは
So I can rescue Remy. So I can destroy no one.
僕が望んだ妄想だ。
Hey, It's the sound Steins Gate. Steins Gate. Anyway, Norris's response was swift. He had yet to harvest the code sample of Nishijo Takumi. The delusion was supposed to have cornered the boy and shattered his psyche, but now the tables have turned, and that he could not allow. Norris had closed the gap between him and Takumi, taking a specific angle. He swung his D sword from below. With a D sword that could cleave any known object, diagonally carved through Takumi's chest. The target's durability made no difference. Killing a person with it was as simple as slicing through a block of gelatin. With a one quick swipe from Norase, Takumi's body was split into pieces. His head, right arm, right shoulder all slid cleanly off his body. Internal organs littered the floor, but not a single drop fell with them. The lower half of Takumi's body began to give way. He braced himself and managed to plant his feet. In the following moment, the cross-section of his wound began to undulate and squirm. A bubbling noise ensued, and then he regenerated, even though his body had been cleaved apart a mere second ago. Already a new head, right arm, and shoulder had been born. His old head and internal organs remained where they had slid off, slid free from it.
痛覚は遮断した。
With a single step, Takumi approached Norase. Norase clicked his tongue and turned over his D sword over.
肉体の形を捨てたがゆえにいかなる形をも取れるということですか。
あんたの見せてくれた妄想のおかげだよ。
He was unable to retain his shape as a human being. He had taken in the delusion and made it his own. That was not regeneration, but replacement. Nice. that was an interesting way to get over this weakness, the weakness of his human body. Missing parts replenished. Flesh and bone were reproduced once again, all propagating infinitely from the dust within his body. His shape was not fixed. Like an amoeba, like a collection declined. Slime, he could change himself freely. That was the reason Takumi called himself a monster. Takumi took another step toward Norase. Norase's frustration increased. He trimmed the hilt, thrust his D sword at the approaching Takumi. Takumi's head found itself between a colossal pair of scissors.
脳を失えば妄想はできないでしょ。
Bro, you literally cut the guy in half before. Takumi's head was crushed, split like a watermelon. Blood and gray matter burst forth. Everything above the neck was gone, and yet Takumi's body remained. Regeneration, replacement was instantaneous. As soon as his hilt hit the ground, as if nothing had happened, as if he had been entirely replaced. His head returned right where it had been, without a single scratch. Norris awakened to an understanding. He could not win this fight. Physical attacks with this D sword was useless. The delusional attack denying the body's reason for existence and taken in and used for an alternative purpose. The current Nishijo Takumi was all too far removed from human normacy, all too distorted of an existence, all too fitting of as a monster. And yet, despite it all, Norase had no intention of conceding. His next thought was to utilize Noah 2's body and power to bombard Takumi with innumerable antiparticles. Bombarded with antiparticles that could transform any known existence into negative matter, ending infinitely in salt collapse. If destruction from the surface was not viable, the collapse must be undertaken from within.
そうなんだね。
Norris's thoughts had been read by Takumi. The shine of Takumi's disorder transformed from red to black. A black flame enveloped the blade and wriggled forth, extending outward. Its shape resembled that of a dark colossal serpent.
そして現れるの。
It roamed throughout the dome as if constrained by it. Oh my god! Toward the ceiling, toward the floor, as though it was licking them up. as though it was scraping them away and simply consumed.
邪神の黒き大蛇あらゆる崩壊を飲み込み邪神の身を砕くことができる。同質にして異質なり
The body of the colossal serpent was composed of anti-particles. Within a mere touch, it could send any known object into cell collapse. A torrent of destruction composed of near infinite greed.
触手芸はあんまり好みじゃないけど
Then, there and then, Taku's Disordo swung. It pointed tip fixed on Norase. This is super bullshit, man. For some reason, my suspension of disbelief was able to endure the regeneration part, but the fucking anti-particle snake, the dark serpent, within itself in the coil, curved its body like a whip. Its jaw snapped at Norase.
まさかこれほどとは
Not once had Norase ever seen such a phenomenon from a Disordo. He could not discern whether it was the hidden power of all Giglo-Maniacs or merely Takumi's delusion. The dark fangs eroded Norase's body. He began to collapse, all too slowly, like a frog slowly dissolving in the belly of a snake. Darkness swallowed him. He felt no pain. By nature, his death should have been instant. But that was not what Takumi wished for. Realizing this, Norase's lips twisted in a derisive smile. Norase had no fear of death. One could say that the ideals he pursued had been accomplished with the completion of Noah 2.
私を殺してもノア2には誰も近づけない永久期間なんですよ。それは人類を未来永劫にわたって管理し続ける。ただ座して眺めているだけではない、人の幸福のために干渉してくる人工の神なのです。
Norase was God's inventor, so to speak. As long as Noah 2 continued to exist, mankind would not perish, and the eternal utopia Norase sought would become real. However,
あんたなら近づけるんでしょ
the serpent's body wriggled and writhed with Norase in its grasp, lifting his body into the air.
それならあんたは鍵だ
Norase was astonished, but soon enough, his face changed into an expression of pure agony. The serpent swung about his body with ease. Takumi shot a glance at Rumi. Their eyes met. Just what was Rumi feeling as she watched him? Reading her mind would have been effortless, and yet Takumi did nothing of the sort. It seemed I was able to save you after all. He hurriedly averted his eyes. His gaze then shifted to the still humming Noah 2, the throne of God where none could stand for. But a cradle which showed naught but a dream of bliss.
ごめん
He apologized to no one in particular.
僕は人類にとっての敵なので
The eternal utopia this device would have brought. A future without conflict. Takumi would extinguish them with his own two hands. Was that right or was it wrong? Takumi could not give the answer to that.
でも神話でもよくあるでしょ神だって女絡みでうだうだやってるだから僕も
Will sacrifice the happiness of mankind out of love for a girl. Takumi, Disordo in hand, bent his arms in the giant heart.
突き破れ
He thrusted it forth like a javelin. The colossal serpent of darkness charged straight ahead. With a bait known as Norase impaled by its tip, it flew straight toward Noah 2. An enormous serpent of anti-particles capable of terminating any known object. if it had no will of its own, thus it was not something that could have been warped nor distorted. With a greedy impulse to destroy, using Norose as the key, the delusional barrier was easily smashed into pieces. When had the rain begun to fall? There had just been a huge explosion, and its blast blew my body away like it was nothing more than a rag doll. Next thing I knew, I found myself lying here. Those eyes were always watching me. The stare pierced through the thick, pitch black rain clouds and poured down on me like rain. Don't look at me. My body couldn't stop shivering, not from the shiver of the rain, but rather the ice-cold rubble against my back. So terribly cold, a gaze pierced me from the heavens. Who it belonged to I couldn't say. As if to escape it, I raised my head to look at the environment around me. There I saw a ruined city. There I saw despair. There I saw death. There I saw nothingness. Not a single soul was there. Not a single soul was moving. Not a soul was left alive. The only thing I could hear was the sound of the rain continuing to pour. At this rate, everything, both the living and the dead, would it all be gently embraced and washed away. How nice it would be if all this was just a delusion, but that didn't seem to be the case. I couldn't move my body. I could only move my eyes and neck, and even then just barely. I couldn't use that monstrous power from before. My body was shivering, but that was nothing more than a physiological phenomenon. It wasn't happening by my own will. I didn't want my body to tremble. If I couldn't move it freely, then it wasn't my body. Or maybe I had never had free will ever since I was born. Nobody knows exactly where their soul resides. Bearing that in mind, how could anyone say that there was a soul inside this body of mine? But then where exactly was I now? Was I really here? Was I anywhere at all? In the shattering world where all stood still, where all could have been heard was the rain of death, suddenly another sound echoed through it. A solitary existence began to emerge from the sea of nothingness. Who are you? Is your skin so pale because it had been numbed by the chill of the rain? Or was it because you were already dead? And yet the girl wasn't shivering, and those eyes of hers nearly hidden by her bags. Don't look at me. They look so terribly sad. They look as if they hint the hint of madness. They look as if they reflected nothing. If she and I were the only ones left in the world, if we stared into each other's eyes like this for all eternity, would my world be reduced to the reflection in her eyes? Would her world be reduced to the reflection in my eyes? The only thing reflecting in her eyes was me. The only thing reflecting in my eyes was her. When I thought of it that way, the world immediately seemed so much smaller. Suddenly, a flash of static reached my ears, one endlessly beautiful yet deeply discordant. She lowered her head and spread her arms wide, almost as if preparing to take off, to soar high above the rain clouds, or as if trying to catch all of the falling
あな
rain.
たを見つめる妄想
From where I was on the ground, I couldn't see the expression on that lowered head of hers. Behind the thin veil of rain, just what kind of face are you making?
殺してあげる。
An angel? Were those dancing feathers of light blessing me, or ah, I see. I finally understand. She was going to use that to kill me. The girl slowly kneeled to the ground before my collapsed body. With her head still lowered, she gently took my own in her hands. I surrounded my body to her grasp. I was just relieved that she wasn't looking at me.
殺さなくちゃ。
In my ear, I heard a whisper, garbled by static. It was as beautiful as it was discordant.
ごめん。ごめんね。
There's nothing to apologize for. If I don't disappear, the other me, the real one, me, will die. So, that's why I'm okay with this. In fact, I'm really glad I get to be erased by you. It's not a bad end for a monster like me. I don't have regrets. A warm, soft, gentle, sweet sensation. As miraculous as if it were an aesthetic. The shivering in my body began to die down. Her soft breath tickled my cheeks. It smelled so sweet. Suddenly, I sensed something pressing against my chest. The large sword she held tore through my skin, bored into my flesh, weaved through my bones, slowly sank through the center of my body. But gifted with the anesthesia of her kiss, I no longer felt any pain. I would never have imagined that I would get such a kind death. Just the thought of it broke my heart, leaving me on the verge of tears. Trying to hide them, I looked past the girl's head, up toward the ashen sky, where the rain continued to pour. And that is the first ending of Chaos Head Noah. We will go to the Crying Sky next. Oh my god. That was a sad ending, man. Well, we're gonna go through a lot of routes, but yeah, that was intended. That was intended. After all, no matter what what you chose, you're always gonna get this first ending. This game was intended to be repeated so many times. Anyway, yeah, that was an ending. I kind of sobered up a little. We're gonna go to the next ending. Yeah, so stay tuned, and we'll be going to ending B after this. I'll let the ending roll.